You know, I don't tend to ask for a lot of things in life, but if I can find somebody that loves me as much as Chris Collinsworth does Patrick Mahomes, I'd be in good hands like Allstate. Alright, yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy, the Football Falcon, also known as Shane, and we are back with another installment of my AFC predictions. Today, we're doing the AFC West, and we only got two more videos. We got this one and then the AFC East to finish out everything. It's been an interesting series so far and where I think teams are going to land, and today we got a very interesting division to cover. We are going to be starting with the Kansas City Chiefs, so we'll go ahead and get right into it here and get straight to the point. Looking at the Chiefs offseason, they did make some noise. They did lose some guys and gain some guys, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to do. And I think the biggest question mark for this team is obviously can Mahomes, return to form after tearing his ACL last season, and this secondary as well. Can they be a part of the team that doesn't kill this team? Because outside of Mansour Lane, who was a top 5 or 6 pick, a little concerning back there in the back end. But let's get right into it here. The Kansas City Chiefs did trade for Justin Fields in the offseason. Fine for a backup. They also added Garrett Nussmeier in the draft in the 7th round. They did, their big splash, I would say, is probably going to sign Kenneth Walker. They give him 3 years, $45 million. The Super Bowl MVP from last year had a solid, stint with the Seahawks, so we'll see if he can really get the bell cow role here in Kansas City. And then we also got Amari DeMarcado, who signed here on like a 1-year deal. Tyquan Thornton, who was an underrated deep threat, re-signs with his team, 2 years, $11 million. I do like that. Travis Kelce gets a re-sign. He's probably going to retire here, but, he's kind of on the downward of his career. Khyiris Tonga was solid for the Patriots. I did like that addition. And then other than that, they did get L'Jarius Sneed back, Loie Gilman. So kind of a relatively quiet offseason for this team as we'll take a look at their roster. I know we haven't done that yet for this team, but, man, that secondary absolutely terrifies me outside of Mansour Lane, and he's a rookie, so hopefully the Chiefs secondary can be, better. I know Spags is a guy that's earned a lot of benefit of the doubt and made a lot of players look good in his system. So I do have some trust in him there. And Mansour Lane's dealing with an injury as well, so that's not great. But they get L'Jarius Sneed back, but is he going to be the same as he was a few years ago? Obviously you hope that's the case. They do sign Kader Kohu from the Dolphins for their slot role, which I like. He's fine. Jaden Hicks, nice little safety. I believe he's out of Tennessee. Solid as well. Shamari Connor sticking around. I think he's all right. They did lose Brian Cook in the offseason, but it's going to be interesting. I think this defense is, probably going to take a step back. They did invest 2 first-round picks, though, with the Delane pick and then Peter Woods, so hopefully they can be a little better than I think they're going to be, but we're going to take a look here at the Chiefs and get right into it here. They open up on Monday night hosting the Denver Broncos. It's going to be an interesting one, man, because I feel like these two teams are really close, and obviously we're going to be talking about the Broncos later in this video, but it's going to be hard for me to not take the Chiefs week 1 at home against Denver to win this game. I do think the Broncos have a really good team this year, so this is going to be a very competitive division, including the Chargers as well, but I am going to take the Chiefs ultimately in week 1. They do host the Indianapolis Colts in week 2, and then they go to Miami in week 3, have the Chiefs beating the Colts. I'm going to take the Chiefs to beat the Dolphins in week 3, going to Miami and getting that victory. Kind of a nice start to the schedule for the Chiefs after that Broncos game because they get a week 5 bye, and then they get the Colts at home, who aren't great. Then they go to Miami, which Miami's not really expected to be that good this year. And then they go to the Raiders in week 4. This is an interesting one because I think the Raiders are kind of a scrappy team, and they kind of give, I think they're going to give some teams problems this year, even though they got a young team and a young quarterback. Other than Kirk Cousins, obviously, they're probably going to start Kirk. But I'm going to take the Chiefs in that one heading into the week 5 bye. They do get the Chargers in week 6 coming off the bye, and I am going to take the Chargers in this one. I think the Chargers are a team that usually gives the Chiefs problems, and I think did they sweep them last year? I'm not too sure, but I do think the Chargers made some really good additions in the offseason, especially the Mike McDaniel hire at OC, so I do think the Chargers are going to be competitive and good this year as well. Week 7, I do have them beating the Super Bowl champs against the Seattle Seahawks. Week 8, they do go to Denver. That's going to be really tough, and I am ultimately going to take the Broncos in that one to win that one. I think that's just going to be a challenging game. The Chiefs kind of are starting to hit the hard part of their schedule. And in week 9, they do host the Jets, so I'm going to take the Chiefs in that one. And then week 10, they go to Atlanta, and I do have them beating the Falcons. And then they get the Cardinals. Week 12, they do go to Buffalo on a short week to play the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills in that one. I don't know, don't really have an analysis for that game, but for whatever reason, Josh Allen always beats Mahomes in the regular season. So I'm going to think this trend will continue to happen. I'll take the Bills in that one. Then they go to the Rams and play L.A. They do get a week break, though, Thursday to Thursday, which is nice, but I do have them going to LA and beating the Rams. And then week 14, I do have them losing to the Bengals. So that'll be a tough one. And then week 15, they get a nice little break and get the Patriots on a Monday night. This is a fun one, but I am going to take the Chiefs in this one to ultimately win that one in Arrowhead. I do like the Patriots this year, though. Obviously, we'll talk about them in the last video, but I'm going to take the Chiefs in that one ultimately. Week 17, they do go to the Chargers and play LA. I'm going to take the Chiefs in that one after they beat the 49ers the week prior. And in week 18, they finish off things against the Raiders, and I will take the Chiefs in that one. So I've got the Kansas City Chiefs going 13-4. Woo! That is a hot take, I would say. That is a very nice record for the Chiefs, but I don't know, man. It's just, I think this is a team that's bound to bounce back, and obviously with Patrick Mahomes under center, it's hard not to trust what they have there. And Andy Reid, I just think they're going to figure things out. I know this team has earned the benefit of the doubt, winning 3 Super Bowls in the last, 5-6 years, so I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of teams are talking about, or people are talking about how this team only won 6 games last year, but it was one of those, everything that could go wrong went wrong for them last year, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little too high on the Chiefs, but I think they're going to be really good this year, and with Andy Reid and those guys, I think, the offense is going to be really good, and they're going to be humming, and this is the first time I feel like Mahomes in his career since Kareem Hunt's rookie season has had a true, RB1, and I don't know if you guys remember what happened the last time the Chiefs had a run game that was competent. Mahomes won the MVP and threw 50 touchdowns, so I don't know. I'm really high on this Chiefs team this year. I think they're going to be a threat, and, obviously you can never count Mahomes out, so I got them at 13-4. Let me know what you guys think about that as we're going to head to LA and do the Chargers. So let's get it underway there in LA. Alrighty, guys, we are here on the Los Angeles Chargers, and this is a team that's pretty polarizing. I do like what they did in the offseason, though, adding some very nice players. Obviously, and I think their biggest addition was getting their OC and Mike McDaniel. I do think that's a pretty big upgrade from what they had in Greg Roman last year. So let's take a look at their additions here. They re-signed Trey Lance. That's not super notable, but he's a solid backup. They do bring in Keaton Mitchell from the Ravens, who is a nice third down back and just a really nice speed running back out of the backfield. I do like him a lot. They added a couple tight ends with Charlie Kolar, the former Raven, and David Njoku. A couple nice tight end additions there, so that's going to be fun for 12 and 13 personnel. They bring in Trevor Penning, former Saint, who kind of hasn't been that good. Cole Strange, Tyler Biadasz. I do like their O-line additions. They kind of had to do that because that was the reason they lost that Patriots playoff game, is they could not block for Herbert at all. Tyre Tart comes back here. Khalil Mack also returns. Dalvin Tomlinson signs here. Solid D-tackle. Delshon Phillips, and then Derwin James gets a pretty big extension as well. So not a super noisy offseason for the Chargers on paper. And then looking at their offense, this is going to be an interesting question for me. I would say the biggest question for this team, obviously, number one, is Justin Herbert's got to get that monkey off his back and get a playoff win. This team has to get to the playoffs and win a playoff game for it to be a successful season. They've been so close. They've been right there. They've gotten to the playoffs multiple times, but Justin Herbert just has not been great in the playoffs, and I'm very curious to see where I have him in my quarterback rankings, which is probably going to be my first video I do after these predictions. But, yeah, I think he's got the pieces around him. It's just, can they win when it matters, obviously, and can Justin Herbert, finally elevate himself and take that next step? Because he, obviously he was so good early in his career, but they just haven't been able to get over the hump and just get a playoff win and set themselves up for success. So, going to be interesting to see how that goes. But my biggest question for this team is, can these pass catchers be consistent enough? Obviously, Ladd McConkey coming into year four or three. I do like him this year and his trajectory. Quentin Johnston, obviously, he's been up and down, but had a solid season last year. Trey Harrison year 2. And then, obviously, a couple nice tight ends as well. So, hopefully they're good, and hopefully their O-line can stay healthy. That's probably their biggest question mark of all. Can the O-line stay healthy? I love Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. That's probably the best tackle duo in the NFL. So hopefully they can stay healthy. But let's get right into the predictions for the Chargers. They start against the Arizona Cardinals week 1. I do have them winning that game, and then they host the Raiders week 2. I'm going to take the Chargers in that one as well. I just think the Chargers are a better team than the Raiders right now, and the Raiders got some work to do. They do go to Buffalo in week 3. That's just a tough game. I am going to take the Bills. That's kind of hard to bet against Josh Allen and that Bills team right now. And then week 4, they do go to Seattle to play the Seahawks. I ultimately have them losing that one as well. And then they go to Denver in week 5. Actually, they host the Broncos. I'll take the Broncos in that one in week 5. And week 6, they do go to Kansas City. I do have them getting a big win there. And then they hit the bye in week 7. Not bad for the Chargers. Not a bad bye. But coming off the bye, they do play the Rams. I do have them losing or winning that game, going to LA. It's literally a home game for them, which is kind of funny. But I do have them winning that game. Week 9, they host the Texans. I do have the Texans winning that one. I just think that defense is so good and so talented that it's going to be hard for the Chargers to win that one. And I do have them dropping back-to-back games against the Ravens as well on that Monday night game. Week 11, they host the Jets, which is nice. That's a good bounce-back game opportunity there. I'm going to take the Chargers there. And then they host the Patriots in Week 12. This is an interesting one because I know the Chargers are looking for some revenge after the last time they played this team and lost in the playoffs in the wild card last year. This is a tough one to predict, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take the Patriots in this one. I just think the Patriots are a little better. Even still, I know the Patriots lost some guys in the offseason, but I just trust Mike Vrabel and that coaching staff just a little bit more than the Harbaugh over there in LA. Week 13, they go to Tampa Bay. I did take the Chargers in that game. Week 14, they get the Raiders at home. Do I think the Raiders get one on the Chargers? I'm going to say yeah. I think the Raiders are a scrappy team. They're going to be fun with, Genty and Bowers. And, I think this team is going to be a little better than people think. But we'll see. I don't know how high I'm going to be on this Raiders team, but I think they'll be okay. Week 15, they get a short week against the 49ers. I do have them winning that game. And then they get to go to Miami to play the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Chargers in that one. And then Week 18, they go to Denver to play the Broncos. And kind of, I'm not going to say a must-win game, but a pretty big game that they need to win. Ultimately, I am going to go, this is tough. Going to Denver to play the Broncos to end the season is tough. It'd probably be like a snow game, too. I'm going to take the give me the Broncos, man. It's like a coin toss game. I just don't know. I'm going to take the Broncos to sweep the Chargers this year. I just think the Broncos are a little more equipped for a cold weather game, but could be wrong on that one. So with the Mike McDaniel edition, I've got the Chargers at 8-9. Missing the playoffs more than likely in this AFC, and it's a tough division, man. I'm going to be honest. The Chargers just kind of got a bad schedule and a bad rap, honestly. It's just going to be tough for them to make the postseason with this schedule. I don't know. Could be crazy, could be tripping here, but I don't know. They just got some tough opponents this year. That's just where I got the Chargers at, just missing the playoffs at 8-9. You guys let me know, obviously, what you think of that, but we're going to head to Denver to do the Broncos, the Sean Payton-led Broncos, and Bo Nix next, so let's head to Mile High to do the Broncos. Alrighty, guys, and we are here on the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to be honest, before the Jalen Waddle move, I was like, what is this team doing? Like, I guess they're just going to run it back with everything in the offseason, with what they had last year, and they were like, no, we're just going to go trade for Jalen Waddle and upgrade this receiver room. Finally, they made something happen later in the offseason, which was a great slam-dunk move. Obviously, Miami's in a rebuild, and Jalen Waddle, I don't know if he wanted out or not, but, they trade the first-round pick and more to go get Jalen Waddle, which is a nice addition. I do like that a lot. Their receivers are solid, but they didn't have that true, guy that could be special for Bo Nix. So I really do like that move for Denver. And obviously Miami got a good return. But other than that, they just said, we're going to run it back with what we had other than Adam Troutman, who's like a backup tight end who was on the Saints. So going to be interesting. I think my biggest question for this Broncos team, honestly, it's kind of tough, man, honestly. This team's got a lot of strengths. I mean, a lot of strengths, not many weaknesses. But I would say, other than obviously Bo Nix getting healthy off that leg injury, I would say, can this run game be better this year? I did think J.K. Dobbins was solid last year, but man, just seems like he's always dealing with some type of injury. And, it's unfortunate because, averaging 5 yards a carry last year, he was great when he played. But, if he goes down, you got R.J. Harvey as your RB1, which is fine. He's 25 years old already, heading into his second year. He's better as, like, a true receiving threat. And then, obviously, they spent, like, the fourth-round pick on Jonah Coleman out of Washington. He's got more of a power profile. So, I think if the Broncos are going to really be good in the postseason, I think the run game's got to be a little bit better. So, hopefully, J.K. Dobbins can be healthy in that. But other than that, man, this team is really, really good on paper. So, it's going to be hard for me to not be high on this Broncos team heading into this year. Let's take a look at the Broncos here. They got a lot of their schedule filled out already, so we'll go kind of quick through this. They do go to Kansas City week 1. I do have them losing that. Got to beat the Jags in week 2, but losing to the Rams in week 3. And then they go on a little West Coast trip to play the Niners and Chargers. I do have them winning those 2 games. And then they get the Seahawks on a short week. I took Seattle in that one. They go to Arizona to play the Cardinals. I do have them winning that one. And then they get to host the Chiefs. I do have them splitting with Kansas City and then going to Carolina and losing that one in kind of an upset game as they head to the Week 10 bye. And coming off the Week 10 bye, they get the Raiders. Going to be interesting, but ultimately I will take the Broncos here in this one. Just a much better team on paper, roster-wise, and I just think Sean Payton's a really good play caller. So, I think he's going to be able to dial up some good stuff throughout the season. Week 12, they do get the Steelers on the road on a Friday. I did take the Broncos in that one. And then they get the Miami Dolphins at home. They get a nice little stretch of winnable games right here. They get the Dolphins at home, which I really like the Broncos in that one. Then they go to New York to play the Jets. If you guys remember what happened last year, these two teams played. Justin Fields had like 10 passing yards, it felt like. So hopefully that game's a little more exciting, but the Broncos should beat the Jets. Obviously, it's the NFL. Anything can happen, but I'm going to take Denver in that one. Then they go to Vegas to play the Raiders in Week 15. I'm going to take the Broncos in that one, and then they get the Bills and Patriots back-to-back in Week 16 and 17. I actually am going to take the Bills in Week 16, and in Week 17 they go to New England to play the Patriots. I am going to take them to get some revenge there and beat New England on that extra little break there. They get a nice break. I'm pretty sure it's an 8-day break between the Bills and Patriots games, so that's nice. And then I have them beating the Chargers to finish the season. And with that being said, I've got the Broncos at 12-5. Very high in this team. I think they're going to be just as good as they were last year, if not better. I just think they got a really good roster, and I think their floor is really good, and their ceiling's pretty high as well. So I think they're going to be really good and a tough team to beat. I think the AFC is going to be one of the more tough divisions this year. I think the NFC is solid, but I think the AFC is just a little more well-rounded than the NFC. So got the Broncos at 12-5. I'm pretty high on this team. Obviously, let me know what you guys think, or we're going to finish out with the Raiders and Kirko Chains and the Fernando Mendoza gang over there. So let's head to Vegas, take care of the Raiders. Alrighty, guys, we are finishing things up here with the Las Vegas Raiders, and I do like the additions they made in the offseason. Obviously, getting Clint Kubiak is a huge addition, especially as a head coach. But let's take a look at the players they added. They do go and sign Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons. He gets released there. Obviously, just not really living up to that big contract Atlanta gave him. So he gets released and signs with the Raiders. And they said they're going to roll with him out as the starter, which I think is interesting. Obviously, he spent the number 1 pick on Fernando Mendoza, so that's going to be... It's not really a typical thing to do to, not start the number 1 pick in the draft. So kind of interesting to see how that pays off and plays out. Obviously, they go and get Connor Hayward, nice little fullback from the Steelers. Jalen Naylor was probably their biggest receiver addition. They go and get him. Tyler Linderbaum was their big splash in the O-line. Their O-line is going to be really good this year. I'm really excited for Ashton Genty. Malcolm Kuntz comes back here. Kwity Paye signs from the Colts. Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, solid linebacker additions. I do like those. And they trade for Taron Johnson and bring back Eric Stokes, who Eric Stokes was a little underrated for this team last year. So I think my biggest question for the Raiders is, how quickly, I don't know, this is tough. I feel like they got questions on defense, but I do like what they have. Obviously, another question that I do have about this team is, can there be a second pass rusher that emerges next to Max Crosby? I think that's a big question for sure. And also, are we going to be able to see what your number 1 pick looks like this year? Is Fernando Mendoza going to look like he's NFL ready, or are they going to bench him the whole year and go with the Kirk Cousins route? I'm not sure, but let's get into these predictions here with the Raiders. And obviously, that receiver room scares the heck out of me. Obviously, other than Brock Bowers, who's the tight end, but they'll play him as a receiver pretty much with their personnel. But let's get into it here. They open up against the Dolphins. I am going to take the Raiders in that one. Nice little start to the season, but man, this schedule's tough for the Raiders, man. They go to LA to play the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers in that one, and then they get the Saints on the road. I'm going to take the Saints in that one as well. Weeks 4 and 5, they get the Chiefs, and then the Patriots, and then the Bills. I mean, that's just brutal. I mean, this team has got such a tough schedule for no reason. And then they get the Rams after that. So I have them losing all 4 of those games just because I think Kirk Cousins is going to start. The offense is going to be all right. It's not going to be anything to write home about. And, they're just kind of in that evaluation mode right now with their offense and especially their quarterback and their receivers. So this team's still a little bit away from being like a true difference-making team. But I think they could be interesting this year. But they'll probably keep, themselves in games with their offensive talent, but just such a tough schedule for this team early in the year. They do go to New York to play the Jets. I'm going to take the Raiders in Week 8, and then they get the Niners on the road in Week 9. I did take the Niners in that one, and then they host the Seahawks. I did take Seattle. And then they go on the road back-to-back weeks and play the Broncos and Browns. Did take the Browns to beat this Raiders team, so maybe I'm wrong on that one. But heading into the Week 13 bye, they're pretty much cooked. They're pretty much eliminated from playoff contention. They are not in a good spot. They do get the Chargers at home. I do have them winning that one and splitting with the Chargers, but then losing back-to-back weeks at home to the Broncos and Titans. And then they go on the road to play the Cardinals. I took the Cardinals in that game, and then I have them losing to the Chiefs. So I think the Raiders team is going to be competitive and keep themselves in games, but man, just the schedule just did not work out for them. And I think there's a couple games that could go either way, but I've got this team going 3-14, man. Yikes. I know I'm a little lower than I even thought I would have been on this team, but I don't know, man. The schedule's just really tough, and obviously a first-year head coach, there's just a lot of growing pains for this team, but I could see this team definitely overachieving and being a little better than this, but with the schedule and how things play out, I just don't know when they're going to turn to Mendoza and how quick that's going to happen, and even if they do, it's a rookie quarterback, so Not a big fan of the quarterback situation, but I do think Clint Kubiak could be a guy that elevates them and makes them look better. But I do think this team's going to be picking in the top 5. Maybe adding something else, maybe a Jeremiah Smith to this team would be kind of cool. But yeah, that's where I got the Raiders at, and that's where I got the AFC West at. If you guys want to take a look, I got the Chiefs winning the division at 13-4. I got the Broncos at 12-5, the Chargers at 8-9, and the Raiders at 3-14. So we got one more to go. After this, we're going to be doing the AFC East. Make sure to let me can't even talk. Let me know what you guys think I should do for the next video after the predictions. Do y'all want to see fantasy rankings, things like that? Very curious to see what you guys want to see or want me to do. So I'm an open book. I'm totally open for anything. So let me know. And yeah, that's going to be it for this here video and the AFC West predictions. You guys let me know what you think. If I'm too high on the Chiefs, the Broncos, too low on the Chargers, am I really low on the Raiders? Are they going to be an 8-9 win team? I don't know. They could be sneaky good, but that's where I got them at. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to comment any predictions you guys have, and let me know what you guys think of this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Getting close to that 60 subscriber mark. I think we're at 59 at the time I'm recording this, so pretty exciting. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it. It's your boy, the Football Falcon, and I'll be back with the AFC East and finishing that out, and then we'll head to doing some new stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. It's your boy, the Football Falcon, and I'm out. Peace.